we're here. We're here.
Here we are.
We're in it.
This episode is squalor regardless.
It's squalor. It's filthy. It's his unkempt house. That's what this episode is.
I am nausea at this point.
And we haven't even gotten into like
anything about the crimes.
This is just who they are as people.
Oh, yikes.
So then, Catherine and him got back together. They got back on the regular bullshit.
But was the mattress still there?
Mattress was still there. There, ready to go.
I feel like it's so stinky.
Yeah, and so for his I almost said his brother's 21st birthday, he said, "Hey, James, come here."
No.
And James was like, "What?" And he was like, "Do you want to have sex with Catherine?"
No.
Birthday?
I thought you were going to say that like he got him like a sex worker or something.
No.
His gal.
No. He was like, "Here, Catherine's here," which reminds me of like, Carla Homolka and Paul Bernardo, how she was like, "Do you want my sister?"
Or like I
birthday?
can just like pretend,
like we can
her.
I can just give you that. Like this is. No one has any autonomy, like, besides them. Like, Catherine's just like, would you like her?
Well, and honestly, like, that's weirdly incestual. Like,
it is. Like, there's weird shit happening here.
No.
So that was actually the first time that James had sex with a girl, was with Catherine.
Oh.
And at one point, David went without sex for, like, a night. Like, a whole day and a night. So he was insane. Like, literally, like, James was like, he was off his rocker, and he was begging James to just let him have sex with him. That's how, like, out of control he was.
He wanted his brother to have sex with him.
Which, in case anybody was wondering whether incest happened in that house growing up, hello.
That's your answer.
That's your answer right there. Yeah. So that just shows you what was happening in this house before they even began murdering people.
Well, wait, so do you know if they did or not?
I don't know. I just know it was a thing.
It's better to have not known.
It's better to not know. It's better to just know that that's how desperate he was and how much he couldn't go without it in his own mind. Now, because his sexual appetite was clearly so insatiable, like insane.
Yeah, to say the least.
They quickly just like became bored of having sex with each other, Catherine and David, especially more so David. Like Catherine was doing what she could to keep up, but David was like, eventually I need more. So he was like, I'd like to like spice things up. So David and Catherine, they talked about it and they were like, what can we do to really make things different here? And David was like, well, I've always had like this thing about like abducting and raping a woman, which is like very interesting when your partner, it's good to communicate with your partner, I think. Definitely. Talk about what you want. Talk about what you need. But when your partner says, I've always had this fantasy of abducting and raping a woman.
Yeet yourself out of the situation.
Yeah, it's time to go, you know what? This was fun. Bye. And then leave. Maybe call authorities and say, I don't know what's going to happen here, but it seems like something's brewing. I don't know. But Catherine was like, that sounds great. And not only that, she was like, I'd actually love to watch that. Yeah. So Catherine was like willing, totally into it.
What?
Yeah. So again, how two people found each other. I always wonder how these people find each other. That's how it happens. So the first thing they could think to do was put an ad in the paper to try to lure girls to their house.
Why are they being so upfront about this?
Yeah, they love ads in the paper, too. They're like, let's just, a paper trail. That's what we're looking for here.
I mean, the 70s, hi.
So the ad that they put in the paper, they put an ad in the paper that said, urgent. Looking for a lonely person. Prefer female, 18 to 24 years. Share single room flat. So they're making it like, oh, do you want to live in our house?
Why do you have to be lonely to live there?
Lonely person, female, 18 to 24.
Just to live in our house.
That's the roommate we're looking for. Luckily, everybody who read that thought the same thing we did because they didn't get any bites off of
also,
that.
Why would that be put into print? Like, why was the newspaper like, you know what?
The newspaper was like, this is probably fine. Like, this won't. No.
You know that, like, whoever was, like, typing it up that day went home to their wife or husband and was like, get this.
It was like, what the fuck
You thought that my job was boring? Get this.
And it's like they pay for a spot. They paid for it. I think they just have to print it. It's like, they're technically not threatening anyone. They're not like,
just want a lonely lady.
It's a weird one, but you just got to be like, all right, there it is. No one answered that.
The most ominous ad.
Right? Urgent.
I hate that part.
Yeah. So apparently the two of them didn't really have like a specific girl in mind or anything. They just said, they would like an 18 to 24-year-old, preferably. I can't say that word. But they just wanted to find a girl alone. They were looking for a girl alone because they weren't getting anybody biting off of that really good ad in the paper that was like super subtle.
Primo.
So they were like, wow, that's crazy that didn't work.
Are you still going to the post office? You're also still paying full price for postage? Well, thanks to Stamps.com, you don't have to anymore. Think of what you could do with that money. I would put it towards a new pair of shoes. Mail and ship anytime right from your computer. Send letters, ship packages, and pay less, a lot less actually, with discounted rates from USPS, UPS, and more. Stamps.com saves businesses thousands of hours and tons of money every single year. Stamps.com brings the service of the U.S. Postal Service and UPS right to your computer. It's a must-have for any business. Whether you're a small office sending out invoices, a side hustle Etsy shop, shipping out orders, or just navigating this hybrid work life, Stamps.com can handle it all with ease. No wonder over 1 million businesses chose Stamps.com for their mailing and shipping. Simply use your computer to print official U.S. postage 24/7 for any letter, any package, any class of mail, anywhere you want to send. Once your mail is ready, just schedule a pickup or drop it off. It's really that simple. With Stamps.com, you get discounts up to 40% off the post office rates and up to 66% off of UPS shipping rates. Not to mention, Stamps.com is a fraction of the cost of those expensive postage meters. Stamps.com is a no-brainer, saving you time and money. It's no wonder nearly 1 million small businesses already use Stamps.com. Stop wasting your time going to the post office and go to Stamps.com instead. There's no risk, and with our promo code MORBID, you get a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and type in MORBID. That's Stamps.com, promo code MORBID. Stamps.com. Never go to the post office again.
So, the first victim who ended up not being, I say victim because she was like stalked, but she survives.
Okay.
But it's still like a story that is very scary.
Okay.
Her name was Audrey. He would stalk her outside of her workplace at a real estate company. David would.
He just found her.
He just saw her, and he tried to get her to leave with him many times. Like, was like, oh, I'll drive you home, or blah, blah, blah. And she said he came back every day for at least a week. He was making suggestions like, I only like brunettes with brown eyes. As soon as I was alone, he came in. And she said she was super creeped out by him right away. And this was happening for a week straight. And she was like, it was escalating to the point I was like, something bad's going to happen.
Yeah.
Now, she called her husband, and her husband came in and scared him away.
I love it.
And he never came back again. But it's 100% positive that was intended to be their first victim.
Absolutely.
He was 100% going to try to take her home.
That's so scary.
So she got away.
She wasn't lonely, David.
She wasn't lonely. I love that her husband came in and was like, no.
Yeah, go fuck yourself.
Not gonna happen. And smart of her to be like, I'm gonna call someone else in here and scare the shit out of you.
Hell yeah.
So Catherine would, now when they would look for a person, they had a code system that they would use. Of course,
very Myra and Ian.
Exactly. Now, there's a lot of parallels to Myra and Ian in here, and we'll see. And so Catherine would give David the go-ahead that this was the person she wanted by saying, because usually what they were thinking after this, they were like, all right, he's just stalked someone, didn't work.
Yeah.
They put an ad in the paper, didn't work. We're just going to have to pick people up.
Right.
And give them rides home.
Yeah.
So they said, when we get someone in the car, if both of them are down, because David said Catherine had to approve of the person, so Catherine would say, I've got the munchies. And if David thought the person was a good match as well and was into it, he would say, quote, I've got the munchies too, darling.
That's foul.
And that was how they sealed whoever's fate was in the backseat.
Never again. I hate that you ruined munchies for me.
Sorry. It wasn't me. It was Catherine and David. They ruined
fuck
it.
them.
So October 6th, 1986.
No, thank you.
Mary Nielsen, 22 years old.
Oh.
She was a student at the University of Western Australia. She was majoring psychology. She worked part-time at a deli in Adelaide. She was like a really just like good, hardworking girl.
Yeah.
Like doing her thing at university. She was adorable. Like they were all so pretty. Like every girl, like they were so adorable. And all of them were like really sweet, from good families, like just
With like futures and
yeah,
lives
just
ahead
like
of
real
them.
futures ahead of them, just not doing anything they shouldn't have been doing at the time. It's like
Literally just living.
just living their lives. It sucks. And she met David while shopping at the spare parts yard that he worked at. She was looking for a tire, and he was like, hey, he like pulled her aside and was like, hey, I can get you cheaper tires for your car. Like, you just, like, here's my phone number.
And you're 22, you're like, hell yeah, brother.
Exactly. You're like, yes,
If
I
I
work
was-
part-time at a deli. Of
Yeah.
course I need, like, cheaper tires.
If I was 22, I'd be like, awesome, I'll call you.
Exactly. And his coworkers at this yard, by the way, said that they thought he was very smart, which a lot of people said he was smart. I think.
Well, unfortunately, I feel like you would have to be to pull something
Yeah,
like this
I feel
off.
like he was very, like, he read on his own time and kind of educated himself a little bit.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't getting it at home, obviously. So
Right.
he was very well spoken to a lot of people, which can trick a lot of people into thinking you're
An outstanding
which
citizen.
it doesn't correlate. Like, very smart or very well spoken or well read does not
Doesn't
correlate
matter.
with good person, and not well spoken, not well read, doesn't correlate with bad person.
No.
But a lot of people, unfortunately, do correlate the two things.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of the reason he was able to manipulate a lot of people and charm them.
Yeah.
And so his coworker said, yeah, he was really smart.
You just got so Boston.
Did I really?
You went his coworker.
Did I really? I didn't even realize.
Like, who are you?
They said he was really smart, really smart. He was really normal.
Wicked smart, wicked normal.
He was a great worker. They said he was always on time. He never missed a shift. Like, nothing out of the ordinary.
He really changed it up from the
He really
racehorses.
did. He really did. And you know what it was? It's like they said he didn't stand out. He didn't fade into the back, but he didn't stand out.
But he probably learned how to blend
Exactly,
in because he had
because
to.
they were like, he was there. He was never late, so we never had to think about him much.
Right.
He did his job.
Yup.
He talked to us.
Yup.
And that was it. I wouldn't sit there and say I want to like hang out with him every night. I wouldn't say I don't. It's
Yeah.
just, he's there.
He's there, yeah.
David. Oh, that's my coworker David.
Right.
No big deal.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because I feel like a lot of these people either are shit at their jobs or they go above and beyond and are like, oh, he was my favorite worker and I
Yeah.
can't. And it's like, he really just
He was in the
floated in that
in-between.
middle, which is interesting. I don't think a lot of them really do that.
Wait, I just realized that not once have I said, ew, David.
Ew, David. Oh my God.
How have I not said that?
Wow, what a missed opportunity for both of us.
I know, but I'm gonna really up the ante in part 2, probably.
Ew, David. Yeah,
Ew,
you're gonna do
David.
that a lot. Oh,
David.
that's so perfect. David.
David. I'm so good at it.
You are.
Do you want to watch me do the entire little Alexis dance later?
I think everybody listening does, so we'll put that on the Instagram.
I'm a Lamborghini.
Guys,
star.
if you haven't watched Schitt's Creek, do it.
You have to.
So, poor Mary. Let's go back to Mary.
Yes.
Her parents were out of town, and she didn't have somebody that, normally she would probably call her parents and be like, hey, can you pay for these tires? Or, like, help me out.
Yeah.
And they were like, we would have. Like, she knows we would have. But they were out of town.
And she's probably like, oh, you know what, they're gone. I want to do this myself. When they come home, they'll be so impressed that I did this.
Exactly. She's like, you know what, I'm going to get this done.
Yeah.
And she's like, what luck that he's going to do this for me. So she called him because he gave her a number and he was like, cool, come to my house.
No.
And I'll give you, we can do the tire thing. He's like, we just can't do it there because, they want to charge you a lot and I don't want them to know that.
Which honestly, I like now. Obviously, I wouldn't just based on the job that we have. But
the
like,
younger you can get why she would be big.
absolutely.
Yeah. So on October 6th, she went to his house to pick them up. David answered the door as soon as she got there, and he immediately held her at gunpoint.
Immediately.
Pulled her right in the house. Now, Catherine was there. They immediately chained her to the bed in the bedroom. David raped her as Catherine watched. Catherine apparently did like research before they did this because she wanted to know exactly what they were doing, like exactly how to make this as like undercover as possible. She wanted to make sure they didn't leave any like evidence. She was like all about this. And then she took the time while he was raping her to take notes. on what he liked and what he didn't like.
What?
Yep.
How in your mind do you... what?
Yeah.
What?
And she also took pictures.
No, that.
Now, according to Catherine herself, that she said this is when David was like, maybe we should also kill people? Like,
No.
he was like, this is fun. Like, this is nice. But I'd really like to kill people, too. Like, can we kill her? Like, saying this in front of her. Like, was literally like, do you think we should kill her?
Oh my God, this poor girl.
Yeah. She said he had never said he wanted to kill someone before that. He had only talked about abducting, raping. That was it.
Right.
But she was like, whatever David wants, right?
Well, and you said she did so much research on, like, not leaving evidence.
Exactly.
When you fucking rape someone, there's
she
a whole
was
lot
like,
of evidence.
I think we should do it. Whatever David wants, David gets.
Oh, this is
So
horrible.
Yeah, so they took Mary out to Glen Eagles National Park, where he raped her again, and then used a handmade garrote made out of a tree branch and rope to strangle her.
Oh my God.
He then stabbed her in the chest because he read somewhere that stabbing someone speeds up decomposition.
What the fuck?
They researched this before. And they buried her in a very shallow grave in the forest.
That's so sad.
After that, they took Mary's car and left it near the police station. Yeah.
Interesting.
And this was apparently something that, they read somewhere. But all of the things that they did, they were like, well, I read it somewhere that, you're supposed to do this.
Where the fuck are you reading this shit?
I know.
I understand, speeding up decomp, that. I understand there's probably sources on that. But,
Yeah.
leave their car near the police station.
Exactly.
Let's
And that's
not
what
write
they would do.
how-tos.
They would leave the cars somewhere else. They would bring them somewhere else. So that was their first victim. It's horrific. Mary Nielsen, 22 years
sad.
old. 22 years old. October 20th, only 2 weeks after that, October 20th, 1986, they're like, we're in the clear.
Right.
No one's finding her. It's fine. So they started looking for their next victim because they're like, it's been 2 weeks. What are we doing here?
Right.
And they'd been driving around for a couple of hours that night on October 20th, and that's when they spotted Susanna Candy. She was 15 years old.
Oh my God.
She was hitchhiking along Sterling Highway when they found her. I say hitchhiking. Some sources say she was hitchhiking. Some say she was just walking.
Okay.
So I'm not sure which one is correct because there's plenty of sources on both of them, so I'll say both. She was a student at Hollywood Senior High School. She lived at home with her parents and her siblings. She lived in Nedlands. She was said to be a great student, straight A honor student.
Of course.
Super sweet, happy personality. She's adorable. If you see her picture, she looks like a 15-year-old. She's just cute. And you're just like, man, you're just wholesome, and that sucks.
Baby.
And her father was actually one of the top surgeons in Western Australia. He was very protective.
Oh.
He had all daughters, and he was very protective of them. In fact, he didn't like that she was working, at all. At the restaurant she was working, he was like, I really would rather you not be working. And then he was like, if you feel like you have to work, and she was like, I don't want to be independent.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, cool, but I want to pick you up from work and drive you home.
I understand
don't want you
that.
walking. I don't want you taking rides. So he would always do that. Now, this one night, he couldn't pick her up.
Oh my, that poor man.
Yeah. So, and it's literally, and I think he would come walk her home. I think it was close enough that he could walk her. He just couldn't, so she tried to get home herself.
Stop.
Now, of course, the Bernies see her, offer her a ride, and once she got in the car, they immediately held her at knife point and tied her hands together. They brought her back to their home where she was gagged, chained to the bed, and immediately raped by both of them.
My God.
After David raped Susanna, Catherine got on and they assaulted her some more together. They decided that they weren't going to kill her right away because they were like, we killed, Mary right away. Mm-hmm. And David was like, I'd really love to try to have a sex slave. So they were like, yeah, let's do that. So they kept her alive for several days.
I don't understand.
Horrific.
That.
Horrific. Her parents immediately reported her as missing, obviously, but it was treated as a runaway situation.
It's so
insane to me.
Oh my God, it makes me so angry.
How can police assume to know people's children more than they know?
We say it all the time.
It's beyond me when they just immediately go to run.
It's like the Daniel Morecombe case. He was 13 years old, and like his mom was like, no, he was at the bus stop to buy us Christmas gifts.
And
like he wasn't running away.
And it's like, why not just exhaust all the resources and then go, shit, we didn't need to exhaust all those resources.
Yeah.
You're better off just fucking up in that sense than going, let's not put any resources towards this and then somebody dies.
Right.
I feel like I would much rather be like, oh, you spent a lot of money and resources and they were a runaway. That's okay.
Right.
I'd rather you do that than the other way. It just, it doesn't compute to me. It really doesn't. While she was there, they had her write letters to her parents and even call them on the phone.
That is like a whole different level of fucked up.
And she had them tell them that she ran away and just needed some space.
And they probably were like, that is not the case.
Well, her parents said they knew immediately
they heard it
that
in her
something
voice.
was wrong. And they brought the notes that they got to the police station and were like, this is not how this is speaks. Under duress.
Right.
Like, this is not, she would not run away. I can tell. I know my child.
Yeah. And the police were probably like, no, it's fine.
Yeah. They just said, they looked at the notes and they said, nothing looks weird. And they were like, well, we know our child, though. And, like, we know how she writes and how she talks. And they were like, yeah, we don't see anything. Sorry.
Cool that you don't. I raised her, so.
Yeah. So finally, they decided that they were going to kill her, and David tried to put a nylon cord around her neck to strangle her in the bed. But Susanna started fighting.
Good.
Like, fighting back, and he was not prepared for that.
Well, and he's not a very large guy. He was, like, thin.
He's like a slight man, yeah. And she was fighting back. She was like, fuck you. And it had been days, which, like, good on her, because it's like, she's probably weak as hell.
Depleted of energy.
And she's fighting back, so what ended up happening was they forced sleeping pills down her throat so she would calm down. When she was unconscious, David, like, picked up the cord, handed it to Catherine, and said, prove that you love me. And Catherine went, okay, and immediately strangled her to death with it. Now, before this, she was involved in the rape, involved in the abduction, but she did not do the murder.
But now she's
officially right in there with him.
Yeah.
She murdered her. She murdered Susanna.
Prove you love me. That's
Prove you love me.
I hate it.
So they ended up taking Susanna to the same state park. They buried her in a shallow grave as well. They were apparently planning on having like a graveyard that they could go visit.
That's very Myronian too, though.
Thank you, the Moores.
Yes.
It's funny that this is called the Moore House and they lived on Morehouse Road. Like,
yes.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's a little too much.
Too much. Over the next couple of weeks, they sent more of the letters that they had her write to kind of keep it going that she was alive. So her parents were still getting letters from her after she was dead.
She's alive.
Later, Catherine said about this murder, quote, I wanted to see how strong I was within my inner self. I didn't feel a thing. It was like I expected. I was prepared to follow him to the end of the earth and do anything to see that his desires were satisfied. She was a female. Females hurt and destroy males. Right?
I don't have anything.
What the fuck?
You are also a female, ma'am.
It's exactly, we say it again, it's just like Myra and Ian.
It is.
She was willing to do fucking anything for him, and she didn't give a shit who had to go down for it.
Yeah, it is. Wow.
I love that. Females hurt and destroy males, and it's like, huh?
Like, I don't...
What?
I don't personally do that, I feel.
Excuse me? You're also, what?
Why didn't you say we?
What's happening? Like, what the... And also, you picked her up. She didn't come into your life.
She wasn't destroying you.
Like, she wasn't destroying you,
but I wonder if she was, like, getting jealous of these girls, too.
Well, funny that you say that.
I feel like I keep segueing. Really good for you.
You are. You're killing it.
You're
I really
welcome.
appreciate it.
Anytime.
For someone who hasn't heard this case, you're doing a great job.
I have actually heard this
leading me
case.
right through to the end.
But I didn't know how you set it up.
I didn't know that this was it. So, speaking of that, I think we're going to end part 1 right here.
But don't worry, we're just going to press stop.
We're going to pick right back up. So you're going to get part 1 right now. Ooh. And when we come back, we are going to talk about the next 2 murders that they commit. And we are also going to talk about a survivor tale.
I love when it is a survivor. Thank you.
There's a survivor. And it is quite a survival tale.
Well, and at the end of this case, I'm like,
you need it.
You know, actually, another thing that I was going to say, like, we were pointing out all the parallels to Myra and Ian. This also has a lot of parallels to Fred and Rosemary West.
It does, and actually, Fred and Rosemary are on the docket for the next few couple months, I think. So we're gonna get to them too. I just love hitting those killer couples. I just realized that I've hit like all of